How you guys doing? It is Monday, August 3rd, 2020, here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and on this episode of The Elite, I'm just going to get into something I think is kind of wild. Just give you a good look as to how the whole sports scene is kind of looking as of right now. Because it's kind of wild. We're in a really weird time. Because, the coronavirus has been it's been pretty big since I've gotten back from Germany, which is like the beginning of this year. We went on quarantine in about March. We've been in quarantine all the way until now. We spent not almost half the year in the house. And sports were canceled for a very, very long time. But now they're back, and it's getting kind of dangerous to the point where it's like a lot of the sports that aren't in a bubble might not finish their season. We're in a really weird spot. So for this bit, I'm just going to take you just sport by sport, just to let you know what's going on as of right now, August 3rd, 2020. The sports that are going on right now. First off, there's baseball. So far, there's 4 or 5 or 6 teams that are currently currently dealing with a lot of stuff that aren't playing games. In the National League East, you have the Phillies, the Marlins, and the Nationals. Because the Marlins and the Phillies are under there. Many fear that there might be a COVID outbreak in those locker rooms. Same with the St. Louis Cardinals. And some of these games, like there are some teams that have only played 3 games, whereas the Atlanta Braves and like the Dodgers, they played 10 games. This disparity in games might end up just costing them in the very end, because I don't know if they're going to have to catch up. It's going to be really weird because they're not going to have all-stars, obviously, and before the end of the season, there's definitely going to be another breakout, as long as there's not like bubbles and they're still like traveling to these cities. That still increases the risk of them possibly getting the disease, and more people are dropping out of the league because of it. But as of right now, with MLB playing, I'm glad baseball is still continuing right now. I wouldn't be mad if they stopped it, because at the end of the day, it's all about their safety in the end, because you can't play a whole season with everyone out due to COVID. So that's a whole thing. But as of right now, I don't think baseball is going to finish. But it's been good to see baseball for the first time in a bit. And I'm glad that the first sport that came back, the first big sport that came back, was baseball. Moving to the NBA, they continued their season in the bubble. And they kind of tried to do this so the Pelicans would win, and the Pelicans aren't winning. But in that sense, I think the NBA is handling it very well. They're making sure that when people leave the bubble, like they make sure that everything's in top shape when they get back, making sure everyone's okay. I like the way they're doing it. I like the way they do the games. They're on the court. They have the virtual fans coming in and out. The games are still incredibly good. Like these are like they're still playing basketball at their best level. The big games, the primetime games so far, even though it's been a couple of days, they've been really, really good. It hasn't been a full week yet, but I imagine that the basketball season's going to finish along with the playoffs and the finals. I wouldn't be surprised if a couple teams had outbreaks, but I imagine that they will cut down, and once they get to the playoffs, I think as more and more teams get eliminated and less people are in the bubble, I think it might be easier to contain. But I think the NBA is doing an amazing job. I would say along with hockey, they're probably doing the best job. Going to soccer, because soccer ended, right? Soccer, all of the seasons are basically ended now that the Serie A is finished, I believe. All that's left is the Champions League, and the Champions League starts on the 8th, or the 7th, which is this Saturday. And those are the second legs of the first round, so they're playing those in their home stadiums. And then once they get to the round of 8, once they get to the quarterfinals, then they're gonna bring it all to one field. I have no idea where they're gonna do it, but I think soccer is handling it pretty well. There's been a lot of outbreaks around the world of players getting COVID, but on the top level teams, the teams that are in Champions League, there's been like more serious injuries than COVID outbreaks on the team, which is not a good thing, but it's still better than it really could be. Like it could be a lot worse. I think soccer is handling it especially very well. But as of right now, there's not really much more to say about it. But just looking at what's going on, because on Friday you have Juventus playing Lyon for their second lead, because Lyon leads 1-0 on aggregates. Manchester City plays Real Madrid because they lead by a goal on aggregates. And on Saturday, because it starts on Friday, on Saturday FC Barcelona plays Napoli. They're tied on aggregate, and Bayern Munich's leading Chelsea 3-0 on aggregate, and Those are gonna be some pretty big games this weekend. Soccer's gonna continue like that. They're kind of operating like MMA. I'm at because MMA they're doing Fight Island, and I think and very few of these athletes, very few of these fighters are getting COVID, because they are social distancing, and I think MMA is doing a very underrated job at that. Golf is a socially distanced sport, so I mean they're handling it pretty well. WNBA's in the bubble, like they're doing the same thing as the NBA. Another sport I'm really worried about, especially with how baseball's going. I just know the football. I just know the NFL season's not going to finish. Unless they somehow put them all in like the Superdome or put them all in like a dome, you know what I mean? Because they can't play all in their own home stadiums, but I guess they're going to do it for the money, and there are a lot of players that are opting out. That's a very smart thing to do. If I was an NFL player, I would opt out right now because this doesn't look like it's going to be very safe. But I mean, I can be proven wrong. I really just have to see how this pans out because they're not even doing preseason. They're gonna do training camp, and then on my birthday, September 10th, they're gonna start the season. They're gonna start with a Thursday night football game in a little over a month. But it seems as though they're ready to try to get started as quickly as possible. Which I don't think is the best move, but hey, I don't run the NFL. But additionally, with everything else that's going on, a lot of sports have been coming back now, and it looks as though it's been really, really safe with everything going on. I have no idea whether these sports are going to finish. I feel as though the NBA and the NHL might finish because I like the way the NHL does it. The NHL they have two separate facilities, one for the East and one for the West. I think one's in Calgary or like Vancouver, and one's in like Toronto. One's in the East and one's in the West. I might be completely wrong on the cities. Don't take my word for that one. But they're having two completely separate tournaments, and they're having their own bubble, and it looks like there's very few COVID outbreaks within hockey as well. And they're doing it, and they're forming the tournament in a way where it's very, very watchable. That, along with the MLS, because they're also having a tournament where they're kind of bubbled off. It's different, and they pushed the Olympics back to next year. It's pretty wild just to see what COVID has done, especially with all these sports and everything that's going on right now. But with that said, I really wish everyone the best. I hope everyone does well in this quarantine. I hope sports continue. As of right now, they're still going on. I would like for that to continue. But for now, I can't control anything. But for now, I just want to give you an update as to what's going on, especially with what's going on with sports and elite athletes within those sports. And with that said, thanks for listening. Peace out. I wish everyone well.